Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I welcome all my sisters here and I thank Sister Uzma for giving me such a beautiful introduction. And I thank Sister Zahra Ahmad for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of all the sisters who are dedicated towards Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, every journey we embark upon is shaped by trials, discoveries, and moments that redefine our understanding. Today, as I share my story, I reflect on how my life has been deeply connected to faith, healing, and the relentless pursuit of excellence, both in my profession and in my spiritual journey with the Quran. I am Dr. Lubna Fatima, a physiotherapist, educationist, hijama expert, and an author. Alongside my medical profession, I hold a deep rooted passion for Quranic sciences, particularly tajweed and motivational coaching. While my work in healthcare focuses on physical healing, my soul finds its healing and purpose in the recitation of the Quran, striving for perfection in every letter and every sound. Balancing these passions, my profession and my love for tajweed has been a journey of its own. I believe that just as we care for our physical well being, perfecting the recitation of the Quran is nourishment for the soul. It is the balance that gives meaning to everything I do. Before I begin sharing the deeper parts of my journey with the Quran, I must humbly acknowledge the most profound influence in my life, my parents. Their unwavering support, constant encouragement, and deep rooted love for the Quran laid the very foundation for my spiritual growth. In particular, my father was a true role model. Every morning, as we prepared for school, he would recite the Quran with translation loudly enough. His dedication and consistency left a profound impact on me. Watching him live the Quran's teachings instilled in us the importance of connecting with Allah's words daily. He made the Quran not just a book to recite, but a guide to live by. That daily routine, listening to the Quran as he read and reflected, planted in me a longing to one day read it beautifully, fluently, and correctly. It was also during a visit to my parents in Makkah that my journey towards perfecting tajweed truly began. Being in the blessed city under the care of and guidance of my parents and duas, I was given the opportunity to learn from remarkable teachers, an opportunity that became a turning point in my life. Their presence and prayers have been the silent force behind every step I've taken, and for that I remain endlessly grateful. While my parents laid the foundation for my spiritual growth, I would be truly ungrateful if I didn't acknowledge the constant support of my husband. People often say that behind every successful man, there is a woman. But I believe that behind every practicing woman, there is a believing man. Someone who understands, supports, and encourages her to become the best version of herself. My husband's unwavering belief in me, his patience, and his encouragement have allowed me to pursue everything I wished for, whether it was my profession and my passion for tajweed or my continuous quest for knowledge. Without his understanding, quiet strength, I wouldn't have been able to walk this path with such dedication. For his companionship and support, I am deeply grateful. For years, I sought to improve my Quranic recitation. I had studied under different teachers, attended numerous tajweed classes, and even taught others. But deep inside, I knew I had yet not reached true mastery. Then, during my stay in Makkah, I met a Sudanese teacher who changed my entire approach. I had thought my recitation was fine, but under her guidance, I realized how much I still needed to refine. She was relentless. If I mispronounced even a single letter, she would stop me immediately. She wouldn't let me move forward until I perfected every sound. There was even a very old lady who would come to the class daily. I listened to the recitation 10 days at a stretch. And in those 10 days, that lady had stuck herself in one ayah. But the teacher was so profound in her method that she wanted her to correct it because it's the case of the Quran. It's the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At first, I found her approach intense, but I realized this was exactly what I needed. She didn't teach me tajweed, she trained my ears. She trained my tongue and my heart to listen to the Quran as it was meant to be recited. She would even mark my mushaf with corrections, ensuring that I never repeated the same mistakes. That was when I realized and understood truly tajweed is not about memorizing rules. It is about refining the tongue to match the beauty of Allah's words. Subhanallah. After learning that, returning to Hyderabad, I was eager to apply what I had learned, but I faced a heartbreaking reality. Despite the abundance of teachers, many held certificates in tajweed, yet struggled to apply it correctly. Some couldn't even differentiate between heavy and light letters, and the focus remained on theory rather than practical mastery. This made me deeply committed to ensuring that tajweed was not just studied but truly practiced. I immersed myself in research, simplified complex concepts, and began running workshops. I taught my family, friends, and students, striving to bridge the gap between knowledge and application. But despite my efforts, I knew I was still missing something. I had come to know the idea of ijaza or the sanad in tajweed. But then people around me hadn't had that much of idea at that time in the year 2009. After years of teaching, a close friend of mine, Maimuna from Qatar, an expert in qira'at, said something that shook me to my core. Lubna, you need to stop teaching until you correct yourself. I was stunned. How could I be wrong after all these years? But deep inside, I knew she was right. This was one of the most difficult moments of my journey, realizing that despite my experience, I had learned from a expert teacher earlier in Makkah, and knowing that people around me knew not much better than me. And hearing to her telling that to me, I still had gaps in my recitation. It was my sincerity, or it was the test of my sincerity. Would I cling to my ego or would I humble myself and start over? I chose to start over. And I would like to bring your attention to this aspect where in our life, sometimes we are being corrected and we feel so bad sometimes. The ego is so much hurt. But then there are two people who come out and learn from this, and some who just go back from this. And I chose to come forward. I accepted that I needed to learn. And I feel this is the very humble experience that one should go through when they learn that it's only Allah who is perfect and He is the one who gives knowledge. And I felt when I humbled myself to this experience, when I humbled myself, I saw the doors of knowledge opening up to me. Then the pandemic came, which unexpectedly became a blessing in disguise. For the first time ever, world class teachers became accessible online. I enrolled in structured programs that emphasized oral correction over theoretical study because people around me had the knowledge of ikhfa, idgham, ghunna, and everything, but they were less in practical sense. This was when I discovered Qaida Nuraniya, a method that transformed my recitation in ways I had never experienced before. Ustada Nahid was one of my instructor there, who was my teacher, who made sure that I read perfectly. And then something profound happened. As I progressed in my journey, I was introduced to AzhaarulJannah, a community of women deeply committed to tajweed. It was here that I experienced a new depth in my learning. I began taking one course after another, each building upon the last, each bringing new clarity and satisfaction. The process was truly fulfilling, like uncovering layer after layer of the beauty and intricacy of the Quran. Subhanallah. Every course deepened my understanding refined my recitation, and brought me closer to the excellence I had always sought. The structured, detailed approach at AzhaarulJannah made me feel for the first time that I was finally on the right path, gaining not just knowledge but practical mastery. And then this year, something truly specially happened. I had the honor of meeting Ustada Zahra Ahmad in person. Subhanallah. It was an experience I will never forget. Despite all that I had learned, meeting her face to face was humbling in a way that words can hardly describe. Her presence carried a profound sense of dedication and humility, a reminder that no matter how far we came in our learning, there is always more to perfect, more to absorb. The gentleness of her guidance, her meticulous attention to detail, and her deep love for the Quran left an indelible mark on me. Sitting in her presence, I realized that tajweed is more than recitation. It is a reflection of character, patience, and submission before the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Azharul Jannah became more than a place of study for me. It became a spiritual home, a place where my thirst for Quranic knowledge was not only nourished but transformed. If there was one place that solidified my passion for tajweed and set me on the path of true mastery, it is here with the inspiration of Ustada Zahra Ahmad and the blessing that humbling encounter had on me. Despite all the progress, one dream remains the same, that is ijaza. During my search, I met Ustada Nahid, whose guidance became instrumental in refining my recitation. Her ability to correct the finest details in pronunciation reminded me of my Sudanese teacher in Makkah. Through the guidance of my Sudanese teacher in Makkah, Ustada Nahid, and Ustada Zahra Ahmed, my journey has been one of the constant refinement. While I'm still striving for ijaza, I know that true mastery lies in the sincerity of our pursuit. If there is one lesson I have learned in this whole process, it is tajweed is not about theoretical rules. It is about sincerity, discipline, and humbling ourselves before the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No certificate can replace true mastery. What matters is not how many courses we complete, but whether we have trained our ears, refined our tongues, and committed our hearts to reciting the Quran as it was revealed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the ability to recite the Quran with excellence, sincerity, and true understanding. With this, I end my talk today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Over to you, Sister Jamila.